Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This is where we get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, with news the energy seems to have leaked out of the US-China trade talks. But first, American housing starts in October haven't rebounded as analysts expected. They did rise marginally, but the bounce was weak. But earlier 2019 growth still leaves them up 4.6% year on year. Nationally, new unemployment claims in the US are rising again. More positive was the next regional Fed survey to report, this one from Pennsylvania. While their general factory index rose, orders, shipments and employment indicators all decreased. And Canada is starting to have an employment problem, with the number of new jobs now falling and reversing recent trends. Worryingly, most of the falls are in their services sector. And China's chief negotiator has reportedly invited his American counterparts for a new round of talks, as both sides are struggling to strike a limited deal to help de-escalate tensions. But the markets aren't sensing real progress here, rather stale reruns. And geopolitical pressures aren't helping either, and neither are the Washington impeachment hearings. Consumer confidence actually edged up in November in the EU in a report out today. It is still net negative, but above its long-term average levels. And the OECD says trade conflict, weak business investment and persistent political uncertainty are weighing on the world economy and raising the risk of long-term stagnation. World GDP growth is expected to be just 2.9% this year, its lowest annual rate since the GFC, and remain at this low level in 2020 and 2021. Mainly that is because they see US growth slipping under 2% in the next 2 years. China's growth is falling too, but is still expected to expand well above 5%. They see New Zealand expanding at 2.5% next year and Australia by 2.3%. Global GDP expanded 3.5% in 2018. In Australia, disbelief grows at how Westpac allowed an old piece of software to let so many AML breaches occur, especially after CBA had been convicted of the same error and paid a $700 million penalty. Not learning from their rivals' mistakes makes the Westpac breach seem so much worse. Complex software that hides flaws are an existential risk for businesses required to act as law enforcement agencies for governments that can't or won't do their own enforcement. The US Treasury 10-year yield is up 4 basis points today at 1.78%. Gold is unchanged at $1,468 an ounce. US oil prices are $1 higher again today at just over $58 a barrel. The Brent benchmark is just over $63.50 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged this morning at 64.1 US cents. On the cross rates, we're firmer at just over 94.4 Australian cents and another 3-month high. And against the euro, we're at 57.9 euro cents. That leaves the trade-weighted index at 69.4. And we should also note that Beijing has let its yuan weaken overnight, releasing it from a very stable level it has held during the trade negotiations with the US. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.